Okay. Welcome, everyone. I am excited that you are here with me this evening, and some people will be watching the recording after as well. So first of all, thank you to the George Paul and Grace E. Lowry Charitable Foundation, who awarded us the grant that allowed us to have teen subscription boxes that we did last fall. And then we did a few this spring. The last one will come out next month. But this month, the book featured in our subscription box was A Cuban Girl's Guide to Tea and Tomorrow by Laura Taylor Namey. And we are thrilled that she was able to be here with us this evening to talk about herself and her writing career, her books that she has out, and to kind of share a little bit of her Cuban heritage with us. We all love learning about different cultures at the library. So I will give a little introduction, and then I will pass it over to Laura so she can kind of add in any little tidbits about herself that I might have missed. And then we'll kind of do some questions and just chat and have fun. So Laura Taylor Namey is the New York Times bestselling and international New York Times bestselling author of Reese's Book Club pick, A Cuban Girl's Guide to Tea and Tomorrow, as well as The Library of Lost Things, and her most recent book, When We Were Them. And there's going to be some upcoming titles that she's going to share a little bit with us later about. She is a proud Cuban American, and she can be found hunting for vintage treasures and wishing she was in London and Paris. Aren't we all? She lives in San Diego with her husband and 2 children. And I did read somewhere else that you have a miniature schnauzer muse as well.
I have no, he's no longer with us.
I'm sorry.
I know. I have a new puppy, and he's sitting in front of me underneath the couch in my office / living room. And his name is Professor Henry Higgins. And he's a
love it.
And if you look on my Instagram, there's lots of Professor Henry Higgins pictures on my stories today, because it's International Puppy Day.
It is. I didn't know that. Well,
he is a puppy, let me tell you.
So how old is he?
About almost 8 months.
Okay.
We're
So it's fun, but also a little bit of training.
A lot of work. Oh yeah, we're doing the training, all that. So
wonderful.
He walks across my laptop when I'm, he'll be like, whew, and then you see these like dollar signs and question marks in your work. It's great.
You're like, how did that get in there? I did not.
I know. I know. Sometimes it's better than what I put. Right.
And I did read that you're a former teacher.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So no longer teaching. Okay. Nope. Okay. And what did you teach? What
elementary school?
Okay.
Yeah.
Wonderful. So all your books to date have been young adult. Is that that is correct? Okay. So yeah. And you have won the Peggy Miller Award for Excellence in Young Adult Fiction. Now, was that for a particular book, or was that
for Library of Lost Things?
Yeah. Okay. And that was your first book. Yeah. So how long ago did that come out?
That was 2019.
2019. Okay. And so how did your writing career start? Did you always want to be a writer?
I think I went to school to be a teacher, and I've always had a writer inside of me, but not necessarily an author. And sometimes those can be 2 different things. And as soon as I always knew I was really good with words, and I loved writing short form work. I have a minor in poetry. I like to write things. But I never thought I could write a full-length book. I was a huge reader, and I'm like, I can't do this. I can write small things, but that was really unattainable for me. And then when my daughter was in around the 5th grade, and my son was, leaving kind of junior high, going to high school, everybody was reading Hunger Games and Divergent and Twilight, all of that stuff. And teens would have this stuff in the aisles of the school. And I started reading it, and I'm like, you know what? I want to do that. So I decided I was going to write a YA novel, and I taught myself by writing a bad one. But that's okay. That lives in a drawer right now. But that's how I taught myself. I'm kind of self-taught.
Start, right?
I know. Yeah. So and then it was like that book almost got me really close to getting an agent. I got super close. And so agents were like, hey, you're really good. This book isn't quite there, but you've got something. And so then I went back and worked on it, and I took some classes, and I read just like hundreds of books and kind of just sharpened my craft. I went to conferences, I got help, and I still have like no formal writing education. Like I don't have an MFA or any degrees in creative writing per se, but I just kind of learned by doing. Yeah.
That's amazing. I mean, and that's so encouraging to, you know, it's something that I've always wanted to do. And I've written a lot, just like you said, like small things, but not an actual novel. So I'm hoping to do that soon, but it's so nice to hear that it can happen at any stage of your life too. And that's what I love.
Yeah. Like this is kind of my second career. I was a teacher, then I was a stay-at-home mom, and I like was really invested in my kids' education, and I was volunteering all over the place. This is like, you know, kind of my second run at doing something for myself, and it's really fun. So
That's
now
amazing.
that kids are like leaving high school and going into college, I get to do what I want and write all day.
Exactly. That is amazing. That is amazing. So can you tell us, I know that you have the poster, or it looks like it's in a frame, the Library of Lost Things, and it's a little different than this cover. So can you kind of tell us what that process is like? Like how much say do you have in the cover creation for your books? And
well, the original with the book spines was done by a different artist than the paperback. So this one is a paperback redesign, and Illustrator covers kind of were popular, and they wanted to just do a really fun cover with Darcy and Asher on the front.
Okay.
And so I had the same art director, and back then this one is done by HarperCollins, so it's a different publisher. I'm not, the other two are not from there. So I had the same art director said, hey, we want to do a redesign, and we found an artist that wanted to do this. And actually, I didn't know this, but during a take your kid to work day, it was like take your daughter to work or take your kid to work day, they had a focus group from all these teens and preteens, and they're sitting in the HarperCollins conference room, and they had my book and kids that had read it, and they got to kind of vote on what they wanted to submit ideas for the redesign. I had no idea any of this until this teen writes me a letter and said, hey, you like your cover? That's me. Like it was my idea. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. So I sent her one. But she said that she should, this kind of, configuration with the blue, keeping the blue, but with the library thing and the chair that's in the book, that she wanted to see that. And so I'm just seeing sketches come in, preliminary sketches, and I like changed what Asher is wearing. I made Darcy's whatever. I got to change some things. There's some hidden little goodies in here. So I got to just give my opinion on tweaks, but it's not like they say, usually, can you design your own cover? Because they pay me not to draw and design pretty much. There are people that do that really way better than I can do it. And you want to just trust the people that are like art directors and illustrators to do those things. So yes, we don't, how much say you get ahead of time, like when your project goes up for design, is based on your publisher and your level of experience. If you're Stephen King, you're pretty much, you get a little more leeway to pick what's on your cover, but most of us are kind of, we can give ideas. Like I said, I had more idea giving for this one than where I'm at Simon & Schuster for a Cuban Girl. Like none of that. The art director is like, I know what I want to do. And Karen Lee, who works there, is so brilliant, like prodigiously brilliant, that you just want to let Karen be the best self that she is, because her visions are just, amazing. And then she goes and finds illustrators that are freelance that kind of then envision that. And then they'll send mock-ups to us or their Instagram saying, hey, here's an artist that we're looking at for you. Do you like their work? And every time I'm like, of course I do. And then I can kind of give tips for when we were them with the beach scene that looks like the character's upside down, but she's really really right side up. She's really the upside down one if you turn it around.
Really?
But I know, it's so cool.
Wow.
I know. It's just really and the sky and the water are the same thing. So it's like that I could not have come up with on my own. So you want to just trust your art director. That was done by Dion MBD, who was like the super young Indonesian artist lives in Indonesia.
Wow.
It's like, again, so talented, and he's really good at that like ethereal, whimsical type stuff, which is different from, you know, Cuban Girl Library Lessons, because this story is a little more lyrical, it's heavier, has a different tone. So the cover will reflect what's inside, and the art director will read it and discover how they're going to market this thing. And it's like a package. Like, how are you going to, when you have a gift, how are you going to wrap it and present it to somebody? So they're wrapping it and presenting it to essentially the world to put on the shelf that makes you want to pick it up and open it.
Right. I mean, I know, you know, we all know the term, don't judge a book by its cover, and it's very true. I mean, I always definitely, you know, pick up a book and kind of read the synopsis and, you know, kind of base, you know, whether I'm interested in maybe delving in further on that. But it is really true, though. So there's usually something about a cover that attracts you, that makes you want to go and pick that up.
Well,
you know?
it's like Barnes and Noble is overwhelming. You're walking in, and even like the YA section is ridiculous. It's huge. So you're walking along and you're like, what? You're just going in there to get a book and you don't know what you want.
Right.
Definitely the cover is gonna influence you. Like, oh my gosh, that looks so beautiful. I want to see what that's about. And it just the fact that you pick up my book, the publisher has like one. That's the fact that you pick it out of all the other ones is like what they're going for, that it has that eye appeal.
Yeah.
And then, you know, hopefully you're interested in it and you want to take it home. But yeah, that's how it is. But everybody thinks like we design our own covers, like, okay, I want two people and I want them to be in blue and I want them to be, we get to dress them usually. Like, is this indicative of the hair? We get to, the hair in Cuban Girl, Lila's hair on the front was not big enough. And I'm like, do you see that? This is Lila's hair. Like, can you make it this big? And they did. And Andy put out the,
I have to say, I'm very jealous. My hair is very thin and straight.
You're wondering where Lila's hair comes from. Here it is. So that we added some volume to the hair. So those are the things I got to play with. But like the original design, no, not so much. And it's okay.
It's really interesting hearing about that process, you know, and it is like, you know, hearing about some other authors too, like it just fascinates me, like what aspects that maybe you did have a little input with. But yeah, like I guess the important things are the characters, like, is it true to the actual character, you know?
Yeah. Well, the scene in When We Were Them is on Mission Beach in San Diego, where I grew up. And so Dion emailed my art director and said, could I send pictures of that area? Because he wanted to get it right. So we had some, you know, and what would Willa wear on the cover? What is she wearing to the beach? So I got to kind of dress them, and he had them in like these weird shorts. I'm like, that's not quite what she would wear to the beach. So we changed into like cutoffs or whatever. So those are the things. But that was after I saw the original sketch and I saw what they were doing with the memory, you know, with the other two characters above and the optical illusion. Because at the end of the book, there's an end cap and now it's right side up, and they're the right way. The scene is the right way, right? Because she's been kind of reconciled. So I thought that's a lot of storytelling done with pictures, like, and that's a really good illustrator and art director combo will do for you.
Absolutely. And that's why I always like to learn that from authors, because sometimes there's little things that maybe we won't pick up that, you know, that it is amazing how much is encapsulated.
You see the L in the Cuban Girl title for Lila and Laura, hopefully. See?
Wow.
Okay. Do you like the little things?
Yeah, I know that. See, that's why I like to ask these things. I like all these little, and while we're kind of on these like little hidden gems, prior to coming on, I had mentioned about the owl in there behind you, and then you clued me into some little Easter eggs. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Oh, yes. I like owls a lot. I just think they're cool and curious, and I've always liked them. And my mother always loved them. So she had, I remember like an owl, she's a sewer and a quilter, owl pincushion that I always wanted to play with. And those memories, I put so much memory into my book, and those things kind of never leave you. So I've always liked owls, and I got that one in Italy when the trip where I found out that Library of Lost Things had sold to HarperCollins, and that was going to be a book. So that was like in 2018. Yeah, and I bought that for my desk, just as a little thing to watch over me. And I decided that I was going to put an owl in every book. And so if you find it, search for one. It's obvious in Cuban Girl, the owl and crow inn, but in some of the other ones, it might be like on a piece of clothing, or it might be something on a greeting card, or something in the zoo, or, you know, there's that, and there are a couple extra Easter eggs I do put in books.
I
That's
love
kind of
that.
fun.
Thank you for sharing that with us for sure. So the Cuban Girls Guide was what our teens were reading this month. And of course, the little announcement on there that it was the Reese Witherspoon book club pick. And I believe that was November 2020. Is that?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
a little bit over a year ago. Super fun. It was a whirlwind.
I
Yeah.
know. So actually, I'm a huge fan of the Reese Witherspoon book club, and I love that she includes YA picks because so many of the other, celebrity endorsed book clubs pick a lot of great adult books, but so few of them. I don't know if there is any other ones that really kind of do a YA pick. So can you kind of
Yeah.
tell us how that came about? Like, how did you find out, and what was that like?
Yeah. No one like knows how they find you. There are scouts that are secret. So everybody asks me. Of course, all the editors or agents want to know this for their books, but I was getting asked that numerous times a day in private messages from other authors or agents or or my agent was getting asked. So we don't know.
Mhm.
But books get sent out for foreign rights, for film rights, for they get put into these media piles and they get passed around. So this is before the book is out, like the advanced reader copies, like the one you have for when we were done. Those get pushed, even the PDF. So it got to somewhere. And I don't know, my agent sent it trying to get, the foreign to sell foreign, and it got seen by somebody. And then she has like 3 or 4 kind of pre-readers or gatekeepers that will read and then compile a list. And she does physically read every book that's that's final. She reads everything. Mm-hmm. She doesn't just skim it, and she doesn't like staff it out. She reads them. Mm-hmm. And she, I found out, I think in September August or September, and the book was supposed to come out in November. So it's 2 months. And I wasn't allowed to tell even like friends or not even my family.
That must be hard.
It was extremely hard. Like my husband and kids knew just because I started screaming when my editor sent me an email at 7:00 in the morning, and I'm working on my 2024 book, Echo Park. I'm working on writing, sitting in my chair, and she's like, "Hi, can I call you? Do you have a second?" And she never does this. Like she'll email usually it's good news or it's like catastrophic. So you don't know, which is terrifying. And she wanted
your stomach's probably going, what's happening?
Because she knows me, she's like, I promise it's nothing bad. So after I read, that part, it was good. And it was my agent and Alex Barolo, my editor, called me and said this. And I'm like shaking. And then I start doing this thing where like I'm running around the house screaming and crying because my friend had just gotten the Reese pick. My friend is Shamila Mendez, who wrote Furia.
Oh,
we're in the same Latinx collective. Like she's my buddy.
Yep.
And she was like the second book picked, right? So the YA section is just getting started. I think I was only the 4th of all the YA books, and now she's only doing 4 a year. So I was really lucky. She was doing them for that first year every month.
Yeah.
And that got to be a lot with the adults. So now there's 4 a year for YA, which is amazing that she's still doing it. I'm so happy. Yes. And the YA books are so good. But so Alex, my editor, said I was the first, because this had not been happening, right? None of the publicists, editors, the people at Simon & Schuster, like the media people, they had no idea who these scouts were that were emailing, trying to get in touch with us.
Okay.
They thought it was a hoax.
Oh,
so wow. They almost didn't answer the email. They almost they're like, there's no way. And so finally one of the publicists vetted the scout, and she's like, you better take that, like you better get back, because that's actually legit. So my editor did and found out and was beside herself, and we're all beside herself. But then I got to meet the team who I'm now a mentor for them with the Lit Up program. They mentor 5 marginalized women every year, which is so amazing, emerging writers. So I'm mentoring someone right now. It's so fun. So I got to go to parties, meet some people, and I've met most of the team. They're the most amazing, sweetest people ever. There was a pop-up shop in LA. We got to go, and they had all kinds of merch, and all the books were there, and we got to meet everybody. So I just I'm terrified. I'm meeting these people. My publicist is there because, taking notes, like, what do we need? And the list of things I had to do was so great that I had to stop writing. And it's stuff you want to do. I had to write like articles for the website, and these have to be not, well done. So my editor was helping me with those, and then do they wanted all kinds of photos and annotated things because they were doing content. They have all kinds of fun things for the book. Like they had my mother's flan recipe. Yeah. And they got all those, so they wanted all the recipes. They wanted the family photos. They wanted the farm in Cuba where my mother grew up. We had all of that. They wanted, I had to do like a photo shoot. So I had to show the book, and they got this thing to me early. So it was like due dates, and I had to have a special person helping me. There were so many tasks so I almost had a nervous breakdown one night because I was tired. It was a lot, and it was stressful because I was trying to keep the secret. And luckily it was kind of during the election. Mm-hmm. And because my books got pushed out a little too early, and you're not supposed to keep the secret. And so people were starting to realize what happened before the pub date, because it's announced on the pub date. Okay. And so I had a team of 20 people intercepting Instagram posts to try to begging people to take down their posts, because they're like, a lot of it was bookstore employees going, look at this, it just came in. I'm like, no, not yet. And so I had 20 people watching the hashtag, and they would, yep. I had all my friends that I finally, at that time, I could tell there was a point where I could, and then when they found out that it got leaked, I was able to tell. So It was fine. And because of the election, everybody was consumed with that. Mm-hmm. And they shut down hashtags on Instagram. So you couldn't search by hashtag for 2 weeks. That saved me, because anyone wanted to see, could have seen all these things. So I was just trying, I was trying to do everything I can, because I was so grateful. Yeah. So grateful for this opportunity. And I didn't want to mess this up. I didn't want them to go, oh, we're not going to do as much because it got leaked. And they want to be the ones to announce it. They have the same way every month, which is part of the brand. Yeah. Part of their group. And it's an honor, and all the things that they do for you are so fun. You want it to just be natural, and you want to honor the work and love that they put into you, because they really do. Absolutely.
And I love that they encapsulate so many things with it, like you said, with the recipes and the family mm-hmm. history.
The social media people are amazing. They made a whole, they did you can guess, they made a whole branding label, kind of our colors for my book with the pink and the green and everything on the Instagram that month. So when you go down, you can see that was my stuff. And if you go on the Reese's Book Club app, I have my own page on there, and it has all my colors and all of that. It's just really nice. It's beautifully done.
It is. And I've always been impressed with their marketing,
and not only that, the way that they give back to readership. Yeah. And I mean, they're constantly donating books. They donate everything. We give of our time. They donate book boxes, and they spoil me. I get stuff in the mail a lot, beautiful things from the store, or branded things, or sweatshirts, mugs, anything like that. I get treats, wine, chocolate, all the time. It's so fun. And it's the really cool thing is, once you're in, it's like a family. Mm-hmm. And Reese calls us her kids. And I'm like, that's not a bad thing. That is she's so absolutely lovely. But it's and we meet new authors, and we get to meet everybody. And once you're in, it's not like once your month or your time is over that they forget about you. And that's not how it is at all. It's more like you're in, and then they they did they helped me with the promo for when we were them. They put it all over their website, and they held a Q&A about it on the app. I mean, those things, they promote your next work. They do cover reveals. So that's how it is. It's one of the coolest things that's ever happened to me. I'm so grateful. Every day I look, and this is where I work. This is my office area, and I see, the artwork that they got me from Jane Mount, and I'm like, oh, that happened. And it's such a cool thing to remind, just to keep me going when it gets hard.
Absolutely. That's wonderful. Thank you for sharing that with us. Because I mean, honestly, that's the feeling you get from the book club, but it's really nice to know that, you know, like you said, it's one big family and they really truly care about the authors. And I love that they promote, you know, women's voices and do so much good. So that's wonderful. So speaking of Cuban Girls Guide, one of my friends, I was posting about it on my own personal Facebook page, and she wrote back. She has some younger girls that she has been raising, and she said, I read this book for myself and I loved it, and she said, I wanted to just like bake everything. And that's exactly how I was when I was reading it. I am one of these people that if something is mentioned like from a different culture that I'm not familiar with, then I have to stop and Google it. And so I had to, first of all, abuela. Okay, so I like to look up, you know, pronunciations to make sure that in my mind I'm pronouncing it properly when I'm reading. And I was inspired to order my own guava paste. So I actually I made a pastelito yesterday with guava.
Ay, muy bien hecho.
So my mom is actually here visiting me, so we had a lot of fun doing that together. So I love that you had so much rich culture and you know, about the food in the book, and I just felt like I really learned a lot. So how was that for you, you know, being able to, you know, talk about, or you know, about the Cuban culture and things that are important, just let us know, like, just kind of talk about a little bit of like how much of your family is infused in this book and your family history.
I would say all of it. It's all true in some respect. It might be stretched or pulled, but it all comes from a place of memory. And the things that I write about are the things that I saw growing up with my Cuban family, my big fat Cuban family, in visiting them every summer in Florida, Miami, or Orlando, and being in the kitchen with my tia. And my abuela died when my mother was young. So the abuela in my book is modeled after my tia Lidia, who actually passed away when I was writing Cuban Girl. So it was a really difficult time. But her spirit, it's really cool because it's somewhere to put her, and my mother's history, my own history. It's like a time capsule, and one that everybody, instead of burying it, we get to open it and share it around the world. So the fact that I get to do that makes me, you know, again, so grateful. But yeah, all the foods in there are things that I grew up eating and loving. The pastelitos, the ropa vieja, all of those things that Lila makes or experiences are things that were made for me. And I wanted to encapsulate the feeling of what it's like to grow up in that culture, kind of that where we learn everything in the kitchen. We learn not just cooking, but we learn life skills and how to love and relationships and all the gossip, the chisme, that's what we call it. All of that is transmitted while we're cooking and eating more than any other place. So there, in my Reese's essay, I talk about that, how I used to watch and then you start participating and you see like all the drama. And I'm the youngest cousin. So a lot of my cousins I would go to a wedding every year, and because I had so many, like 50 cousins. And all the celebrations were just where I learned about life and it's always around food. So that was just the feeling that I wanted to bring, that holds up the book, and my inspiration really is for writing it and creating a story around it and kind of modernizing it, you know, making making her a girl of the world instead of just being stuck in Miami, that she's able to learn.
Yeah. So your family, was it I believe your mom that you had said that immigrated to the US from Cuba, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Wonderful. So you had, I'm sure, because, you know, with your mom being and like born in Cuba, you still had a lot of those traditions growing up, I'm sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, but I'm a diaspora kid, so I'm half Cuban and half German, and and I have some Spanish me too, but half European, half Cuban. And I grew up in California with a Cuban mother and a German father.
Okay.
And so, and I lived both lives. And it's not like you stop being Cuban when I would come home. And my mother is a Cuban mother in San Diego, but she was kind of, you know, I didn't learn a lot of Spanish at home. She tried, but I would learn most of that being with my relatives or actually in school. And so being in the middle is something that I explore more in some of my other titles. With this one, so I made Lila like if she was me sometimes to, full Cuban, because I wanted to explore that space, and in my next book, there's a Cuban character who is half, or no, she's full Cuban, but she lives in California too and has a childhood like me. So Lila didn't really have my childhood. She had the one my cousins had, but I knew it because I lived it too. It wasn't my exact upbringing, but it's part of my history.
Yeah.
So yeah,
absolutely. One of our teens who's on here tonight, Alice, she sent a review, and she said the story is very character driven, and Laura Taylor Namey grows Lila and the other characters along with that you're being able to relate to the character. She felt she was able to relate to them the way that you wrote them. And she said she loved that the book was full of food and culture. And then she said it was a very cozy read. So Alice, do you want to ask Laura your question that you submitted, or would you like me to ask for you?
I can. What's your favorite Cuban treat?
Oh, definitely the pastelito de guayaba. So the guava pastry, definitely. That's why that one is like big time in the book.
Now I know that sometimes they can be made with just guava. The one that I made today, I did put some cream cheese in. So traditionally, did you guys use cheese in yours as well?
Both. Yeah, both. And we would get both. And there's a good Cuban bakery near me that kind of is like the way that Lila learns to add the French techniques at the end and combine them. So it's like a French Cuban, but they have those pastelitos in it. And I like to get them once in a while or more than once in a while. So yeah, they're so good. And really,
I know when I made them yesterday, I'm like, this is really dangerous. Because
it's so dangerous. And then when I was drafting, I had to have my husband or my son would go get Cuban sandwiches, the Cubano, because I was writing about them. There's a whole chapter on a sandwich in there. I had to eat them, and I've grown up on them, but I had to have I ate so many Cuban sandwiches when I was writing. Yeah,
I will tell you that. I looked up, I did not know this, so I'll let everybody know. So the town that we're in, the town next to us is a university town. And I discovered that they have a Cuban food truck. So I know, so they're closed right now, but they're reopening soon. So they do have a Cubana sandwich.
Okay, go get your Cubano. Go get it.
So I plan to do that this summer. I'm excited to know that there was Cuban food so close to me that I did not know about.
I'm excited too. I'm excited for you.
That's awesome. I know. And then how do you pronounce, is it Canlichi?
I can do all the pronunciations. I know it's hard. I know, but we can do that. We're gonna do
so
like Spanish accent.
Right. So is it Canlichi or is that the coffee? Is that
Café con leche. Yeah, so in Spanish, the E is like always is going to be a short E. And if you hear an E sound, it's actually I. That's why Lila is not Lila. It's Lila.
Okay.
So unlike English, that is all wonky about our language because it's so infused. Spanish is very consistent. So E is always short, the S sound, and I is always the E sound. So if you see anything in there, CAFE is cafe.
Okay.
And and LILA is Lila.
I love that. Thank you for that
it makes it easier. Well, yeah. And if you don't know, I don't care. That's fine. Right. People that ask me, that I think that's an easy way to
absolutely. Well, I am all about learning, and that's why I love having my teens at the library so much, because we kind of all learn together, which is wonderful. I'm actually originally from Canada. So in Canada, what we learn as a second language is French, because there is a lot of French speaking people in Canada. So being here in the US now, Spanish is a little different for me. So I'm learning too.
Absolutely. And French is such a beautiful language.
Yeah, well, I think any language is just all of them have their own beauty, and absolutely. So I will share with you, in our subscription boxes, we had a local tea company provide tea with each box. And of course, that just ties in perfect with this book. And it's Red Dragon Herbs and Tea. So with each box, they actually provided a little card explaining why they chose the tea to go with that book. So I'm going to share the description with you. It says, in A Cuban Girl's Guide to Tea and Tomorrow, Lila finally finds her favorite tea after some exploration, vanilla black. The flavor of the black tea reminds her of England, and the scent of the vanilla conjures up memories of the bakery in her native Miami. She gets a place she's come to love and a place she's always loved all in one cup. You can add a little bit of sugar if you like. As the story goes, sometimes it can enhance the flavor. Be careful not to add so much that you can't enjoy the distinct, wonderful flavors already written within the tea. Remember, Abuela says that if some of the sugar doesn't dissolve, someone is thinking about you. So that is the little card that we had.
That's so cute.
Isn't that beautiful? I love that they put so much thought and care into it. So yeah, speaking about the sugar in the cup, I learned through the book that, a lot of superstitions. And I think each culture has, and my grandma was very superstitious, so she always like shared all hers with me. So yeah, were you like that in your family as well growing up?
No, that's a change. That is something that so many Cubans are. Ryan is very superstitious, and his superstitions, well, he likes to learn about Lila. So there are like those whole Latina, set of superstitions, and you can go some of them. And I would say in my 2024 book, which is also about heavily Cuban culture, but in LA this time, there's a lot more of that, and it's hilarious. But some of this stuff, like you can't sweep if you hit the broom hits your foot, all of this stuff is going to happen. And New Year's, you have to eat your 12 grapes for luck and all these things. And I'm trying to think of all of these things, like, you never want to pick up a penny because that's a superstition against wealth, future things like that. Definitely the one about the sugar. Gosh, they're so funny. Oh, the whole mal de ojo, the evil eye, is one.
Yes,
that's not just in Cuban culture, but a lot. My Mexican friends have, that one too. But
right,
that whole thing.
It just fascinates me, and it is amazing if you kind of look up. Sometimes, most of them come from something, like there's some kind of history, like where that original kind of superstition came from. So yeah, I just think that's amazing, and it was neat, like to see like Orion, like is Orion, is that how you pronounce it? Yeah, that
like the constellation.
Yeah, I thought that was so neat in the book as well. So since we're talking about tea, what is your favorite tea, and did you grow up loving tea?
I did, and the vanilla black is one of my favorite, and I also like Earl Grey. So I'm a tea drinker, and I did that because most Cubans aren't. Like my mother is not a big tea drinker. Some are, but there's way more coffee culture. I mean, obviously because they grow it in the cafecito. You have to have your cafecito and café con leche, or your pan tostado, which is like the toast and coffee. That's really simple breakfast, but that's sometimes all they do. Or cake for breakfast is totally okay.
I love it.
Yeah, but I always like tea. I like all kinds. Green tea. I love jasmine green tea. That one is in the book, and I put that in there for my friend who also is a fan. So when she sees that, that's her little Easter egg. But
that's awesome.
But I have my own tea. Like Cuban Girl has its own branded tea now from Friday Tea. And if you look on my Instagram, you can see it. So it's called Sweaters and Stars.
Oh, I love that.
And that was made by a tea sommelier who read the book, and she's seen aesthetics, so she can she does flavor matching. And she, I said, I want a black tea and I want it with vanilla. So she added guava in there. So it's vanilla, guava, and black tea. So I have a bunch of that in my cabinet, and I love to give it as gifts. And at Friday Tea, you can buy the book and the tea pairing. And she has like a section in her store. It's in Seattle. It's so cute. So all of her favorite books, she'll have the tea that goes with it, like a little library, and you can buy a book and the corresponding tea that kind of tastes like the story to her, which is
amazing.
So I got the offer to have one designed. I know, it was the most fun because she would send me things, and we got, some of them were too sweet, or they had too much guava, or one of them had little shiny stars in it. It was cute, but they were sugar, so it made it a little too sweet. So we took out some of the stars. But Sweaters and Stars was in the original title. And I lost that when we did the title change. So I wanted to honor that title because of the sweater on the front and, the star named people. So it got to go in a tea instead.
Well, there you go. I know. And I love that, like how cozy the book is, like, when there's always Orion's cardigan is mentioned, and, and I love that.
It's real.
Did you knit that, or?
No, I didn't, but look at this. I have to show you this. It's so cute.
Because I'm a knitter too, and actually one of our other on here is a knitter as well. So
somebody made Cuban Girl book its own sweater.
I Love it.
So I don't have Cuban girls over here. It's too far, but here we'll put. So it's a book card.
It's a book sweater.
I mean, isn't
How
that cute? And they sent it to me. It's the cable, just like I was like, it's so cute. It's so meta. Like a sweater book about sweaters as a book sweater. You know?
I know.
I know. I love. Isn't that readers are so amazing? I got all this cool stuff. I know. So they sent that. And
well,
I love
that's
it.
amazing. I love that. I think I'm gonna have to knit myself one of those.
You should. It's a book sweater. I told her, yeah, you can make, I think she does them for, whatever colors go with the book. And she made the gray sweater. That's the cutest thing I've ever seen.
It goes perfect with this book.
I know.
Absolutely.
So, yep.
Yeah. Okay. So, I have a question from one of our other teens that's on here. And this is from Olivia. So she is on here. So I will read a little bit of her reaction to your story. And then if Olivia wants to ask her question herself, she can. She said that, I am on the wrong page. Here we go. Olivia said, I really enjoyed this book. I love how sweet and mellow it is. I thought that was kind of a neat description instead of like the cozy, like being mellow. I liked picturing the beautiful scenery of the UK while I was reading it. And I also loved how Laura wrote the characters' voices. And she said she could hear their accents as she was.
That's so cool.
I thought that was really special, and I know exactly what she means. And like I said, I was looking up pronunciations of some of the words because I wanted to make sure in my head I was hearing it correctly. And Olivia did say that she loves a good English accent. So
well, secret. I may or may not have had to like say Orion's dialogue in the worst British accent ever to get it right. Like, hello, Lila. Like, do you want to, he's like, can I have another pastelito? And I was walking around the house like practicing his dialogue. And the only way I could get it. And like when I read, I'll read him in a British accent, and I always apologize for it because it's not terrible, but it's not, no. But that was the only way I could get his voice. So I
love that.
Oh my gosh, it was interesting too. So my kids are like, "What are you doing?" Hello, Kate. My daughter's Katie. Like, how are you? At school? Is it lovely? It's so lovely. It's quite lovely.
I think you do a British accent very well. It's better than I could do.
No, thank you, but that's how
I got it. I love it.
That was fun. And a British friends helped me with that.
Okay, there you go. That's good. So Olivia, did you want to ask Laura the question?
Thank you.
I submitted the question. How do you come up with the characters for the book?
Well, Leela is, I think, like I said, a lot is built like a lot of my cousins, just how they were. But the way she is, being like super type A and super controlling, is pretty much how I was at 18, like thinking you have to have everything planned out and that there's change is terrible. Mm-hmm. And how like if anything disrupts the plan, then it's obviously awful. Which, by the way, is not true. Is that you can change your mind and that life is fluid and you do not have to have anything figured out at 18. It's okay. You just have to have your people that love you and your friends and all of that. And I didn't think that. So that's how I built Leela. A lot of the things she went through are things I went through as a teen. And so it was like going back to high school and all of that and all the things I did wrong and kind of over planned myself. And until I learned that I didn't have to do that, that's how I built her. And Orion, usually when you want to show something, you create its opposite, and opposites pull one another. So what is the most opposite thing to allow a big-haired type A controlling Cuban girl is a soft-spoken, marshmallow of a British boy who's blonde. If you notice, he's physically opposite to her. He's blonde. He has blue eyes. He thinks differently, and that's why I gave them a similar parallel path of things they were grieving and dealing with. But if you notice, they deal with them in totally opposite ways. Mm-hmm. And none of them are bad. like they teach each other and they pull each other and they help each other like out of that pit in their own ways. But I couldn't have done that if Orion had been in this book, like a really feisty Cuban boy. Now I have one of those. I'm writing one right now. There is that. And I play with that because that's another story, but it's not this one. So that's how we do it.
That was really good.
That was a really good question. And someone asked me if there is a sequel. Yes, there is. And I'm working on it right now. I'm editing. I'm going out of my mind, working on it to make it perfect for you. But yes, and it's going to take place 3 years later. And it's Flora's story 3 years later. And she goes to Miami.
I am so excited for that.
Yeah. So you're going to see all your favorites. Not too much, it's not going to be in English. It's not like a sequel where it's Leela and Orion's story, even though they're in it clearly because they're part of her family and her world. But it's all about Flora.
That's great.
So, yeah.
Continuation of some of our favorite characters and the world that you built.
Yeah.
So.
So I'm just trying to get it right. Got my edits and I'm working really hard. Turn it in.
That's
then it's going to get a cover, and the title's not all the way set yet. So I can't share the title, but if you watch my Twitter and Instagram, then I'll do a title reveal when we get it all done. So
that's wonderful. Yeah. That is great. And I have to say, like, I love your, I love your website, and I love, I do encourage people to go there because you have a section on there that says random stuff about me, and it's just so fun.
Yeah.
And any authors that I, really enjoy their books. I love kind of just learning about your world and, things that are important to you. So definitely, yes, I would encourage you to follow Laura and all her social media and her website. And I do have to ask, because you have that kind of in your bio about longing to be in England and Paris. Have you
my gosh.
England and Paris before?
I have.
Okay. And
yes.
what was that like for you?
When I went to England, London, and some parts around there, Winchester is just an hour outside of London by train. I thought, well, okay, I was like so captivated by it because I feel like I was kind of born in the wrong place. Even though I love my California girl lifestyle, when I go there, I kind of feel at home, like the aesthetic, that whole like cold, foggy, antiquated, like where you're always running in for like a scone and a coffee or a tea. The politeness is lovely. Like that's so true about the sorriness that Orion, like they're like, sorry, did I come? Oh, sorry. It's like, these people are nice. Like it was very polite. I really like that. I love that about England. And so when it was time to write this book, I'm like, well, that's opposite to Miami, and it's also a place I love so much. So my friend lives in Winchester, and she helped me with a lot of that stuff, even though I'd been, it's been a few years. So she helped me with that. And Paris is always like, there's a piece of my heart there. I've been twice. And now that we can go, it's like, there's a total piece I left there, and I go visit it as often as I can, which is not often enough. It's such a beautiful place. And I love trying, I can, as far as my French, I can order a croissant and buy a pair of shoes, and that's it. And that's all you need.
It's important, right?
I mean, I can buy I know my size and shoes and how to, I got ballet flats and all the like baked goods possible. So I can ask for that. I know how to do that. And to order a pain chocolat, I can order that, or like, a chocolate chaud, which is a hot chocolate they do. It's really thick. Now I'm talking about food again. What is wrong with me?
It's okay. I'm a foodie too. Like,
yeah, I know. So I love just walking around Paris and just being there, all the limestone. So Paris heavily, and when we were them, there's some Paris in there. It's set in San Diego. There's a French girl, that speaks fluent and wants to study opera in Paris. So that was like, I had to feed that part of me. And so her family's from France, and that's where that came from.
Well, that is wonderful hearing that. That is one of my dreams. Like since I've been little, I've always wanted to go to England and Paris. I have so much Paris, like little knickknacks and things in my house.
You're never the same. I don't know what it is. There's something in the water there,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing that with us. And we're, getting close to nearing our hour with Laura. So I do encourage, is there anybody else that would like to ask a question? You can feel free to unmute yourself or pop it in the chat.
I will spill the chisme. the gossip if I can. I'll say stuff. I usually have to say, I can't say that, you know, so I will tell you if there's anything I can't say, but otherwise I'm an open book. You can ask anything you want.
Well, I know like you did talk about doing the companion book to Cuban Girls Guide, and I think there's another project you're working on. Can you share that with us, or is that still?
I'm obsessed. No, I'm obsessed. I love it so much. That book has taken a long time to write because it had starts and stops. I was writing it when, and then I had to stop to redo When We Were Them because that was coming out, and I had to stop to do the Reese's thing, and then I had to stop because my publisher wanted the Flora book first. And I had, so that one was like almost done, like 70,000 words, which is almost there.
Okay.
And I had to stop and then spend the last 9 months writing the Flora book. But yeah, the 2024 book is my first frenemies to lovers set in Echo Park, LA, which used to have a huge Cuban community in the 70s and 80s. So it is a dueling like heirs of a bike shop and a flower shop. And they kind of disagree on the preservation of their culture. One thinks that everything should be saved, and one thinks that you should kind of, the gentrification is just how it is, you know, and we don't, and one is very against that. One is into roots and one is into wings. And they clash all the time, and they cannot have a conversation without arguing until they can. Maybe, possibly. And it's super fun. So Echo Park is going to be kind of like a new world for me that I'm going to be writing in. So I'm hoping and planning more than one. So there will be like a launch book, and then there'll be kind of companions, just like I did with Cuban Girl, but maybe 2 more. I'm not sure. We'll see. Like,
and do we have a timeline? Like I know
that one's 2024.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I know this is how publishing works. Like that book is, you know, I'm writing. I just finished Echo Park. What, 2 weeks ago?
Okay.
Just finished that draft. So that is like baby book. I have not even revised it yet. It needs to go through all kinds of stuff. So we're working on Flora now. Then Echo Park will come out. Yeah. So Flora's 23.
Okay.
So next year, and Echo Park is 24.
Wow.
Yeah. Both in the fall, I think.
Okay.
Fall. So just watch. I do updates. Yeah.
I was just gonna say, like, it's a long process. Like some people don't realize, you know, the steps.
Oh, that was a thing. My family was like, "Oh no, I turned in a book. Oh, is it coming out in 2 weeks?" I'm like, no, it has to get like the rounds of edits. So there's more than that. And then copy editing. There's past pages. There's proofreading, and all of that is like around. And a different person will handle it and look it over, and then you get fact checked, and then it goes back again, and then it gets illustrated, and then it gets into like the review phase where you get the review copies, and then so it's I mean the minimum is like for traditional publishing is like a year.
Wow.
Like library busting was fast track. That sold in 2018 in May, and it came out in October of 2019. That was fast tracked, and we moved fast on that.
Okay.
Almost uncomfortably fast. I had to have things done. When I would normally get 2 weeks to do something, I would get maybe 2 or 3 days.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing. And before we close up, I will say that we did have 1 box left. So we are actually going to open this up to do a drawing at the library for this box. So I will, when I post this video, I will say that there is a secret word that they have to come and enter. So I'm going to do the secret word. Actually, Laura, I'll let you do it. I had something in mind. What secret word?
Can I do a secret word? Okay, it's guava.
Guava. I love it. I was going to do pastelito. So there you go. Guava. I love it. So the secret word is guava. So after you watch this video, come into the library, and they get, of course, the tea with it. And then there was 2 fun items that I put in every box. So for this one, they got a postcard, and it's all related to England. So this one is a map of the underground. And then keep calm and carry on.
Yeah.
Little magnet that goes along with that. And of course, Laura's wonderful book is in here. I found this recipe online that someone did. It's the honey banana bread recipe. So that is in there as well. And our local bakery actually donated gift certificates so that people could come in and get a fresh pastry. And so our little,
that's so cute.
Yeah, our little local bakery is Dutch Oven Bakery. So there's that in the box as well. So someone can come in and win this wonderful box. So good luck to everybody.
And if you're here tonight and you would like a book plate, put like email me on go to my website and go to the like where you can send fan mail and send me an email with your address, and I'll send you one with your name if you would like me to write a book plate for you if you're here tonight.
Oh, that is so sweet,
and
Laura.
I'll send you a bookmark. I have got stuff, so I have some swag.
That's
Ooh.
wonderful.
Right.
That is so special. Thank you so much. We
Yeah,
really,
easy. That's
really
fun.
appreciate you being here. And then just before we go, again, if anybody wants a question, now is the time to get it in. But I'll ask one more thing. If you want to share with us the most fun or interesting part of being an author, or maybe like one of your most favorite memories that you've had since you've become an author.
Just collectively getting to go to besides the Reese thing, because I mean I'll be
Yeah.
like other than that, yeah, I would say it's my favorite thing to meet readers in person, and like whether it's a signing or a panel, and just get to talk to them or take pictures and just give them a hug if they want and just say hi. Like it's my favorite thing.
Aw, well, we're glad you were with us here tonight. And one of my teens, Emma, actually said she has a question. So Emma, if you want to unmute yourself.
Hi, Emma. I love your name, by the way. It's beautiful.
So like the Lila's or Leela, her
it's okay. She answers to anything.
Her emotions and how she felt, like they were so complex and deep. And I was wondering like how long it took you to get like the wording like just right.
A lot of tears. Like I was not okay when I finished the book because my own aunt died when I was writing it, and I was just thinking of like, oh, my mother and like all these relatives that I'm losing, and like Leela did, so it was almost like I was living what Leela was going through. That's why I went on that big vacation, which was really nice. My husband's like, we need to take you away. We need to go. So we did a big trip, and I really needed that, like, because I just finished Cuban Girl when Library sold. And it was like such a gift to write, but I didn't expect it to take so much out of me. And if you guys write for school or if you enjoy writing, you know that you have to put something of yourself in everything. Like if you're doing poems or even an essay, anything that comes out of you, it comes from a place, and you have to get it right. You really have to dig deep. And when I mentor books, I'm like, you didn't go deep enough. You're just on the surface, and I can tell like you have more to say. And they say, but it's scary. And I'm like, exactly. And readers will know when you're not being sincere or you're not feeling with the characters. And it's not like you have to write a character that's exactly like you, because that's the fun of literature too. I write like when we were them, characters that do things I would never do. They are sinister in ways that I would hopefully not be, but that makes a good story. So you don't have to, but for Leela is like writing a mini me. And so for that, me living a lot of that stuff, it was emoting on the page. Just when I wrote that line, the page about the apron, I didn't know that she was going to hang up the apron at the end. I did not know that until I got to that page, and I was like, and I read it, and I'm like, I told my critique partners, I'm like, I just wrote the hardest thing I've ever done, but I feel like the work was worth it. Like if you love something, it's worth it. And I loved it so much. Like if that book was not sold when I wrote it, like I had to submit it and, had to go on submission and go through all the hard things of publishing. I'm like, if this does not sell, I'm going to not be okay. And I'm usually not like that. But this one is personal.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I'll ever go, we always go, that raw into myself again, even though I always really pull emotion and I try. But that one is just like, it took a lot. So yeah, I encourage you, if you enjoy writing, to just go there and allow yourself to do it, because I'm glad I did. I'm glad I did it. When I was doing it, it was hard, but I'm glad I did the work.
Absolutely. And I will tell you, I got actually very emotional. So like I mentioned earlier, I'm originally from Canada. My husband's from the US, and that's how I moved here. And there was a passage at the end where, she talks about, you find yourself and you find your place no matter where you are. Like you always belong to the place where you're from. And I cried. I cried so hard reading that, and because I saw myself in that. So thank you for your sharing your gift, because
Oh, thank you.
yeah,
It's fun.
Absolutely.
It doesn't always sound fun. We're like, yeah, deadlines, and we're crying all over the place, and it's really hard, and people are telling us what to do all the time, but deadlines, but it is.
I think when things touch us that deeply, that just means that something resonates with us, and it's good, I think, to I'm all about, not like being able to be emotional. I think that's healthy.
Mm-hmm.
So
it so is, yeah. And I write that in my books. It's like always the theme is to be authentic and feel things. And the characters that don't do that at first, I always bring them to a place where they learn, even if it's baby steps, like how to share their emotions and share with other people and open up.
Well, I think that's a perfect place for us to end up tonight. So, and to thank you for sharing yourself with us and your gift with us and with the world. And I look forward to your future projects.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Watch my socials, because you'll see when like stuff's coming out and the titles and release dates and info. And I do aesthetics. I do teasers, like songs, lines. So it's fun.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. I've been following Laura on social media for a while, so I definitely encourage all of you to do
I'm
that.
really bad at TikTok too, so I apologize for that. If you're on there.
I'm still learning too. I need my teens to come in and teach me, because they're they're usually really good at it. So yeah, so thank you so much, Laura, and thank you everyone for joining us tonight. And Erickson Library, come see me. I'm always happy to see everybody at the library and help you find something really good to read. So yeah, thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Have a good evening. Take care. Bye-bye.